I want you to give this a chance because I know you've heard 1,000 messages about servanthood and about how Jesus didn't raise up leaders, he raised up servants. But just approach this with an open heart and open mind, because I think I bring a few insights that the Lord has shown me that you might not have heard. And just listen to what the Spirit is saying and how you can apply this and how it can mess with you and change you. You know, I just said that we've heard many times that Jesus didn't raise up leaders, he raised up servants. And I would say, I do believe that Jesus did raise up leaders, but he raised up leaders with the perspective of being a servant. You know, everything God creates was created to serve. He created angels. And the scriptures say that angels are sent to minister on behalf of the saints. They are sent to serve us. And they also serve the Lord. We read that God created the heavens and the earth and everything within it. And the earth was created with this purpose. And its purpose is to create an atmosphere, create an environment for things to flourish, for things to grow, for things to live. It serves everything in it. God created trees, fruit trees. Fruit trees bear fruit. It's a purpose that it has. And in bearing that fruit, in bringing that fruit forth, in serving this fruit to the earth, it feeds it. It feeds those within it. The fruit tree serves its purpose of producing fruit to the world. And in the same way, God created man, and he created man to serve each other. And you know, God wouldn't ask us to be something he isn't. And it's in God's character to serve. He wouldn't ask us to serve and to be servants if he isn't. Jesus said, I've come not to be served, but to serve and to give my life as a ransom for many. Jesus didn't show up to be served. He showed up to serve. It's in God's nature to serve. And we're created in that image and likeness. That's why he taught us to serve. Jesus led by example and showed us how to serve and to give to one another. We all know the story of how Jesus washed the feet of the disciples. In the story, it mentions that when he walked in the room, he took off his garments. As we know, the garments in those days told a story of who you were. When I read that Jesus took off his garments, I think about how he is the Son of Man, how he is the Son of God, the Messiah, how he was there from before the beginning, how he's the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Yet he took off his garments. I think Philippians 2:6 puts it perfectly. It says, Jesus, being in the form of God, did not consider it robbery to be equal with God, but he made himself of no reputation. He made himself of no reputation, taking the form of a servant and coming in the likeness of men. Jesus took off those garments. He knew who he was, and he didn't consider that to be robbery. He knew he was the Messiah. He knew that he was the Son of God. And even though he knew who he was, he took off that garment and he served his disciples. Jesus came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life. You know, some of us are called to be pastors, apostles, prophets, preachers, teachers, evangelists. Some of us are called to own businesses, to be CEOs, to run multi-million-dollar companies, to be the head of our household. There's all these titles and positions of leadership that many of us are called to. But are we willing to take off that garment and to serve those around us? To consider ourselves of no reputation and take that form of a servant and give our life to all those around us. You know, Jesus even washed Judas's feet, the one who was taking from him, the one he knew would soon betray him. Are we willing to serve those who would be of no benefit to us? Are we willing to lay down our titles and what we are called to serve those who we know talk bad about us, who we know are going behind our backs and doing things against us, who we know are betraying us? Are we willing to serve those? It's easier to serve those we know that are on our side, that could benefit us. But what about those who cannot? And actually, what about those who not only can't benefit us, but who take from us? Jesus, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the Son of God, the one who was there from before the beginning. Man, if anyone has the right to say, serve me, it was him. But he made himself of no reputation. And he humbled himself. And he gave his life. Jesus came not to be served, but to serve. Servant leaders don't take, they give. The scriptures say, for God so loved the world that he gave. The Almighty God, the creator of all things, he doesn't take, he gives. And servant leaders have that same mindset, that we are not to be served, but we are to serve. We take on that very nature, for we so love the world that we give. When we take, it puts things out of order. It gets abusive. That's where manipulation comes in. To take will put things out of order. True ministry is birthed in giving, in serving, not taking. A few years ago, I started believing God for the city of Tulsa. And then one day I heard the Spirit say, the capacity in which I'm willing to serve the city of Tulsa is the capacity in which I will receive. You see, you don't have to toil. You don't have to grasp. You don't have to take. Things are received when we give. The focus shouldn't be on the receiving. The focus shouldn't be on what you will get back. The focus should always be on the giving, on the serving. And in the giving and in the serving, it's given back. It just automatically happens. But the mindset of taking, it will rob from you. It will put things out of order, and it will get you in a place that's twisted and unpure. We're not here to take. We're here to give, and we're here to serve. And as I've said before, like the earth was given a purpose, and it takes that purpose, it serves its purpose to everything in it. And in the same way, we're given purpose. We're given gifts and talents. We are given callings. And we take all those things and we serve them to the world. To give you a little bit of a visual, it's like having a bunch of gifts on a platter. We take those gifts and we serve them to the world. The purpose that God has given you, you serve it to the world. You're not looking for the world and people to serve your gift. That's twisted. Our perspective should be that we serve it to the world, not the world serving our gift. The correct perspective is servanthood in everything you do. In everything you do, the correct perspective is servanthood. Servanthood serves your gifts, serves your talents to the world. Servanthood takes the love that God has given you and serves it to the world. Servanthood takes your ability to make an awesome cup of coffee and it serves that to the world. This keeps things in order. And let me tell you something. Servanthood doesn't take away from your calling. Servanthood doesn't take away from your position. Servanthood does not take away from your kingship, from your priesthood, from your royalty that God has called you to. Matter of fact, servanthood empowers that. It gives to it. It expands it. It multiplies it. When we serve, it multiplies our gift. When we give, it empowers our gift. We are being like Jesus, who came not to be served, but to serve. We are priestly kings. We are holy kings. We're a royal priesthood. We're not corrupt kings. We're not corrupt kings who take from its territory, who drain everything around it from its resources. No. We're holy kings, priestly kings, royal priesthood, who serve its territory, who serve those around them, who takes their purpose, their callings, their gifts, and gives them to all those around them. We're consecrated priests. We serve God and we serve others. We are ambassadors who have been given the ministry of reconciliation. And we take that ministry and that message and we give it to the world. We present it to the world. We serve it to the world. We give that ministry, that message that God has given us, and we give it to the world. And in giving, we're automatically given back. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. And when he gave, he received. It was automatically given back. We came into the fold. And he continues to receive from this day. Servanthood empowers your position that God has called you to. It doesn't take away from it. So I ask you, what is your purpose? What are your gifts? What are your talents? What has God called you to do, to say, to be today, in this time, in this here and now? It's important to discern your purpose in this time and season in your life. I think of it as a farmer. A farmer discerns his seasons and times. For example, in springtime, he knows it's time to plant seed. In summer, he knows it's time to grow. In fall, he knows it's time to harvest. But if he was to live out of season and therefore not recognize the time that the season calls for, he'll go into spring wanting to grow instead of sow seeds. Therefore, when summer comes, he doesn't have plants to grow because he didn't sow seeds in spring. Then when fall comes, he doesn't have a harvest because he didn't have seeds in the ground in spring and he didn't have plants to grow in the summer. And the deal is because he lived out of season 1 year, it not only affects the seasons that we're following, it's going to affect years to come. Because come next spring, because he didn't have a harvest in the fall, he has no seeds to plant the next spring. So it's important to understand and to discern the time and the season you're in right now. Because if you neglect to give this season what it calls for, it's going to affect your next season, and then your next season, and then your next year. And it might take you years to straighten it up. And it's not like God can't get things straight and get things in order. But at some point, you have to start living within the season you're in. And if you don't know what season you're in, if you don't know what purpose this season calls for, it's as simple as getting alone with God and asking. For the scriptures say that if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of God who gives liberally. In January, my family moved into a new season. It was a drastic change. We knew it was of God. And when we moved into the season, I quickly realized that we were in a season of maintaining, of learning how to function and be within this place that God had moved us into. And just recently, I've sensed the Lord moving us into a new season. It's a season of growing, of expanding, a season of no limits, a season of running. Now I can move into this new season and try to live this season in the same manner I've lived the last season, which was a season of maintaining. But if I do that, I'll be living out of season. I won't be doing and being what is required of the season I'm in now. And because of that, I'm going to be frustrated. I'm going to be wondering why things aren't working right. I may even get burnt out because I'm living out of season. And if I live out of season, I'm going to stunt what God is trying to do. Therefore, the next season I move into isn't going to have what it needs to move and to fulfill the purposes of those seasons to come. So it's important to discern, to recognize, and to know the season you're in and what is required of that season. Now, this all goes back to serving. Because these seasons, these times, what is required of the seasons determines how, what, who, when we serve. It determines our servanthood. And to be effective servants, we have to know the seasons we're in and our purpose in this season. We have to know what this season calls for. And when we do that, we fulfill the will of God and we fulfill servanthood. So just to do a quick recap, everything God creates was created to serve. Everything was created with a purpose. And we take that purpose and we serve it to the world, to those around us. Servanthood doesn't take away from your purpose, doesn't take away from your calling. It empowers it. It expands it. It multiplies it. We aren't servants who take. We're servants who give. And in giving, we receive. To be an effective servant, we must discern the seasons and the times we're in, and what those seasons and times call for. And if you don't know what that is, seek the Lord and He'll show you. But when it comes right down to it, all of us are called to serve. When it comes down to it, all of us are called to give. God bless you.